What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing an e-bike preview video where we talk about upcoming e-bikes that you guys don't want to miss. And boy, do we have one today that's going to be epic. I'm going to start doing more and more of these videos because I think they're really important for you as the consumer to have all the options laid out in case you want to purchase an e-bike sometime in the next month or two, something maybe for the spring and summertime. I want to make sure you have all the options laid out on the tables so you as the consumer can make the best possible decision. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have the ghostcat F2.2 1500 watt Pro. Now, as you can tell, this is a moped style e-bike. It is brimming with features, guys. It has a lot of amazing features. We're going to talk about all of those today. And by the way, I did compile a giant list of notes. So if you see me looking at my phone on occasion, that's because I am reading off of my notes. I don't want to miss anything. I want you guys to have all the details on this bike. Let's jump right in. All right, so this moped style e-bike has a 52 volt system. Fantastic. Not quite 60 volt, but it's not the usual boring 48 volt systems that you see on lower end budget e-bikes. And I know what you guys are already thinking. These are just a bunch of numbers on a website and we don't know if they're actually accurate claims or not. And I agree. For this particular situation, we're going to apply the Russian proverb, trust but verify. And we will. This coming March, I am going to be getting my hands on this e-bike and we're going to run it through my test circuit gauntlet. We're going to run it through all the hill climb tests, the moderate hill climb test, the steep hill climb test, where allegedly this thing will shine. We're going to test its top speed. We're going to do a little bit of off-roading with it. We'll do everything. We'll do a mini range test as well. So you guys can actually see if the performance matches the words on the website. And you'll also be able to see the performance of this bike versus other bikes. The price of this bike ends up being only $1849. And by the way, free shipping. Let's talk a little bit more about the company. So ghostcat is a company that's actually based out of California. And over the past week, I've been in close communication with the owner of the company, Kevin, who has been sending me a lot of different details about this bike, about the research, development, testing, the specs, comparing this bike to other brands that are already out there. And you could tell he is super passionate about this product. They actually already did have an earlier e-bike released similar to this one. And what they did was they took everything they learned from that release and improved upon it. And now we're getting this, the updated, faster, higher powered version. You could tell Kevin has done an extensive amount of research and has put a lot of thought into designing this e-bike right here. The ghostcat will be checking out the comment section in this video, so feel free to leave comments down below. And also check out my Facebook group, E-Bike Addicts, where Kevin is an active member in that group. I will be making a post regarding this bike in that group, and he will be there to answer any questions you might have. All right, enough talking for me. Let's get back to this bike. Alright guys, so this is a promotional video that ghostcat did release of their bike, and there's one particular highlight that I do want to show you guys when it comes to the performance of this bike. As you can see, this bike does come in a lot of different colors. Let me go ahead and pause this and get to the good part. Alright, here we go. So, here is the performance acceleration. Alright, so 0 to 20, if you guys look at the number over there, just over 3 seconds. That's kind of ridiculous. All right, we don't know if this display is fully calibrated. Again, we're going to be testing all of this next month. If everything works out, I should be getting this bike next month. We're going to be testing this. We're going to confirm and we'll find out if it's actually true. 0 to 20 in just over 3 seconds. That is crazy. Let's keep going. Look at that, 0 to 30 in 7 seconds, a little bit over 7 seconds. Again, very, very good. This e-bike claims to have 140 Newton meters of torque at 52 volts. And so far, this video makes you believe those numbers. Now, the controller of this e-bike is 40 amps, so 40 times 52, that's just a little bit over 2,000 watts. Let's go ahead and take all of these numbers and compare it to a different e-bike with a similar power spec to this one. So Matt over at Tail Happy TV, I'm sure you guys have seen his channel. It's everywhere. Fantastic reviews. He did test out the Sparkcycle Bandit, and it did get a 0 to 20 rating in 7 seconds, but it did have a top speed of 39 miles an hour, which is faster than the claimed 35 miles an hour of this bike. And so typically when it comes to motors, there's always a trade-off of torque and top speed. There's a lot more nuance than just that, of course, but usually that's how it goes. Now the ghostcat does prioritize torque over top speed. That's why it's not hitting the same 39 mile an hour top speed, but it will have this increased torque. So with that evidence in mind, I do feel like these numbers are more believable. And again, I want to reiterate, we are going to confirm all of these numbers next month. Trust, but verify. And through my talks with Kevin, he was mentioning to me that a lot of geared hub motors at lower RPMs, especially close to 0 RPM, they do tend to reduce their power at those lower RPMs, so they're not giving you the full power. And so it seems like the team over at ghostcat has figured out a way to make sure you get that full power at lower RPMs, and that's really what's going to give you that insane torque. So let me tell you guys a little bit more about top speed versus torque. So my buddy David over at Stay Connected with EVs, in his preview video, he said something that I started laughing at because it's so true. He was pretty much saying, all you guys want is speed and speed. Now, top speed obviously is achievable on perfectly flat ground. That's really where the top speed of a bike is truly put to the test. If you hit any type of hill, even a small hill, that's where the torque of a motor comes in. And so if you live in an area that has any kind of hills at all, you definitely want to prioritize torque over top speed, especially considering this thing already has a pretty good top speed, but it'll maintain a high speed throughout those hills, even those small hills that you guys might encounter, similar to the initial hill climb test that I have in my review videos. All right, let's get back to this website. Enough of me rambling on. Let's keep looking at this bike. All right, 52 miles of range. Range has a lot of different factors to it, so we're just gonna gloss over that because everyone's gonna get different amounts of range on their bike depending on how much you weigh, what the temperature is. There's so many different factors that factor into what kind of range you get. Again, there's that advertised 35 mile an hour top speed. Here's the design of the bike. So very nice moped style e-bike. I do like the design of this bike. Let's take a look at some of the specs of this bike. It does look like it has a pretty comfortable seat. We're gonna test that. This has a giant rear suspension in the back made by D&M. Looks like that's gonna have a lot of travel. This has a front adjustable hydraulic suspension. And guys, let's take a look at the brakes. So the brakes, hydraulic disc brakes, 203 millimeter rotors, 4 piston calipers. That is very important if you have a bike that goes very, very fast. Again, here's that motor, the XOFO motor. Torque spec, 140 newton meters of torque, 52 volts, 1500 watt nominal. Let's take a look at the control. So it has a full twist throttle over here on the side. These are actually very nice looking handlebar grips. Simple and minimalist display. You guys that are paying for bikes like this, you guys want speed and speed. And so you don't care about having a super fancy LCD screen. This screen right here is all you need. As long as it shows voltage and wattage, that's pretty much all I care about in my displays. And guys, if you see over here, it says it's an M5 display, and I did look that display up. I did find the manual, and it looks like that display will show battery voltage and the operating current of your bike. All right, let's keep scrolling down to the specs of this bike. Private off-road, 35 miles an hour plus. Remember guys, private property only. Be responsible. Let's keep going and looking through the specs of this bike. So there it is, the 20 amp hour 52 volt battery, 21700 cells. We already talked about the motor, the controller, 40 amp controller. Let's keep going. 7 speeds. And we talked about the hydraulic disc brakes. This is pretty cool. So this bike is only going to be 85 pounds. That's actually on the lighter side for a bike with this amount of power. So that is a good thing. Good power to weight ratio. Couple geometry notes right here. So the seat height is 33 inches. And this bike also has a couple color options. You can get the blackout color, which is my personal favorite. I just like simple black colors on my e-bikes for the most part. You can get black and red back here. This looks pretty cool with the red wheels, and the back right here is also red. Very nice. And you can get black and white as well. And they are going to be rolling out with more colors. It looks like they're also going to have a black and silver and black and pink color combination as well, in case you guys like to rock pink e-bikes. So Kevin mentioned to me that they really just want to focus on the performance of this bike in terms of speed and torque. And so they went with plastic headlights, plastic fenders, which I like plastic fenders, team plastic fenders. I like plastic fenders because they don't rattle around, they don't vibrate, they are very quiet. And they wanted to give you a decently sized battery, nothing too huge because otherwise the e-bike would be very heavy, but something reasonable that'll give you a reasonable amount of range. Something else that's pretty interesting about this company is that if you do buy the bike out in California, they will deliver it and put it together for you. So there won't be any issues at all in having broken parts or hoping that your bike comes delivered in one piece, hoping there aren't things missing from the bike, hoping there's no damage. It'll get to your house and they'll set it up perfectly for you. So if you guys have a keen eye, you might look at this bike and think, I feel like I've seen this bike somewhere else. I feel like I've seen something that looks very similar somewhere else through a different company. And you would be right. Here is the AKES or AKES e-bike. If you notice, it uses the same frame. This bike does look very similar to the ghostcat e-bike, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. The components are very, very different on the ghostcat versus this one. And the reason why these bikes look very similar is because back when Kevin was doing research on the ghostcat, he was trying to decide which frame to use from all the manufacturers out there. Which frame should he use? He actually did try out this bike and decided to use the frame of this bike, which, believe it or not, a lot of other companies use this exact frame. So it's not like he's just taking one frame and copying it. A lot of other companies just source their frames from other manufacturers overseas, and that's why these bikes look the same, but the components are very, very different. This bike uses much, much lower end components, and we're going to get to that right now. And just as a side note, what helps keep costs down for an e-bike company is sourcing a frame from somewhere else. So if a frame, let's say, were to be made completely from scratch in the United States, the cost of this e-bike would be a lot higher, or the components would be not as good. You wouldn't get as much power. This way, ghostcat can save a lot of money on the frame and give you a lot more value in terms of power and top speed. And in my opinion, yes, the frames are the same, but again, that's where the similarities end. It's kind of like taking two sedans. Yeah, they both have 4 doors, 4 wheels, and they look very similar, but one is a high-end luxury performance sedan, while another sedan could be just your basic economy sedan. Obviously, they're going to be two very different things, even though they look very similar. And that's what I truly care about. When I buy an e-bike, I care about the power, the motor, the battery, the controller. I don't care if the frame looks very similar to another lower end e-bike. But that's just my opinion. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this bike and quickly talk about the differences between this and the ghostcat. All right, scrolling down, so we got some different colors right here. This comes in a yellow color or black. All right, let's keep going. All right, guys, so this is a 48 volt system, smaller battery, only 18 amp hours. So you're gonna get less range and less speed. Again, that top speed, 28 miles an hour, less payload capacity, probably because they do use a cheaper rear suspension in the front and rear. And if you notice, this seat is a lot lower. If you are a bigger guy, you don't want to get on these moped style e-bikes and feel like you're riding a child's toy. You want something that feels like it has some kind of substance. And what Kevin did from ghostcat is he did switch out the shock to a better shock than this bike right here to make sure you guys can see right here. See how this seat is lifted up? So the frame will fit you much better than this one right here. So this bike only gets to 1500 watts, whereas the ghostcat gets to 2000 watts. It does also use a lower end motor than the ghostcat. And if you see here, this display, it is a nicer, fancier looking display. I have had e-bikes with this display. I will tell you that this display does not show your wattage or your voltage, and I personally care a lot about that, whereas the simpler ghostcat display does show you that. All right, let's go ahead and keep scrolling down the website. By the way, refer back to my notes. This bike also only has 160 millimeter rotors, and it only uses 2 piston calipers versus the ghostcat. It does use 4 piston calipers. Kevin from ghostcat, he did initially ride this e-bike in figuring out which frame style would be good, and he tested this bike. He said the cranks are really cheap. The Shimano shifter is actually fake. It's not a real Shimano shifter. Front fork is not adjustable. It's not hydraulic. Crank system is also really cheap. Cheap street tires, and there is a large delay in the throttle. And so I did want to address that. That is something that came up after David's initial video. People realized, hey, these two bikes look really similar. What's going on here? What's the difference? So I did want to address that head on. So that's it for today, guys. I do hope you get a chance to check out this e-bike. Visit ghostcat's website. Their F2.2 1500Pro looks amazing. And I hope through this video you guys have learned a little bit more about your options as a consumer, and I hope you guys add this bike to your list of potential e-bikes that you are interested in purchasing in the near future. Again, guys, if everything goes according to plan, I should have this bike in my possession next month for testing, and we're gonna confirm all the numbers that are on this website. I'm gonna quickly read off my notes over here. So currently they do have a small batch of e-bikes that are going out this month and next month. It's a small batch, so if you guys wanna get this bike early, now and May 1st, they are gonna be running promotions. And so after that, this e-bike will have a firm price of $19.99. And if this e-bike does perform the way we think it will, that's still gonna be a pretty good value. Especially considering the Sparkcycle Bandit that I mentioned earlier is over $1,000 more than this bike. So this bike looks like a really good option if you want something out of the box. You open it up, you put it together. You want something turnkey, open it up, put it together, and just enjoy your bike. This is gonna be an awesome option for you. Guys, let me know what you think about this bike in the comments section. If you guys have any questions about this e-bike, please leave them in the comments. The team over at ghostcat, they are reading the comments. Also, check out my Facebook group, E-Bike Addicts, where Kevin, the owner of ghostcat, is an active member in that community. I am going to be making a post about this bike in that group, so feel free to leave your comments there, and you guys can start a conversation on this bike. That's it for today, guys. Stay healthy. God bless America. Until next time.